Coming up on 2020, looking into the eyes of a serial killer, Charles Manson. November 12, 1934, Charles Miles Manson was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, to a 16-year-old Kathleen Maddox. Kathleen was a rambunctious and promiscuous young teen. As she got older, she began to spend more and more time on the streets and in jail, while her son lived in the homes of various relatives. As a child, Charles was friendless and kept to himself. He watched and listened. At age 9, Charles was caught stealing and sent to a reform school. When he was 12, he was sent to Gabat Reform School for Boys after setting a school on fire. After word got out that his mother had been released, he made several attempts to run back to her, only to find out she wanted nothing to do with him and cared less of his well-being.
The only thing my mother taught me was that everything she said was a lie. And I learned never to believe anyone about anything.
By age 13, Charles had been stealing cars and committing burglary. Indiana School for Boys is where he was sent. He ran away a total of 18 times because he claimed to have been sexually assaulted.
This excessive amount of crime that led him to spend most of his life in jail.
During the peak of Manson's adulthood, the hippie movement was at its height. This movement was defined as a counterculture in the midst of conformity. Peace and love were embraced, as well as drug use. Marijuana and hallucinogens like LSD defined hippie culture, and many people began to associate this counterculture with irresponsibility and disgust. Teenagers were seen as unfit and too naive for society because of the way they behaved in these hippie communes.
Some of these naive teenagers, however, became attracted to Manson and his beliefs. They were amazed at how complex his mind was and how easy it was to talk to him. He was the perfect companion, and he gave these people comfort when no one else would. It was his strong sense of affection, as well as Manson's strong ability to manipulate these people, that led to the growth of his so-called Manson family. This family lived secluded from the rest of society and believed in a radical theory known as helter-skelter.
I was always very creative girl, young girl, artistic. But I never, for a while, I wanted to be a school teacher. Somewhere along the line, I got distracted and I lost motivation. Believed that I was desperately seeking someone that I could love and hold on to and call my own. That somehow my dad leaving had left a space there.
During the time I was brought up, nothing was talked about. I mean, my parents' dissolution of their marriage, you don't talk about that. You don't talk about problems in the home. I never felt like I had a sense of who I really wanted to be.
Helter Skelter, inspired by the Beatles' song of the same name, was essentially the belief that a race war between black and white would take place. This war would kill all of the whites and eventually put an end to the entire Caucasian race. Manson and his family, however, would be safe inside a bottomless pit, a place secluded from the rest of society. Eventually, according to Manson, the blacks would have no idea what to do in a world without whites because they were so used to doing what the white men told them to do.
Manson's life revolved around his family, his beliefs on helter-skelter, and his ambition on being able to market his music. In order to make his music available to the public, however, Manson needed connections, something he had no trouble acquiring. Eventually, Manson meets a music teacher named Gary Hinman, who then introduced him to Dennis Wilson, a member of the Beach Boys. Wilson then refers Manson to another man in the music business named Terry Melcher, the son of actress Doris Day. Melcher is then asked to listen to Manson's music and decide whether or not he wanted to record it. Unfortunately, however, the music fails to appeal to Melcher, and he refuses to market Manson's music.
Outraged, Manson blames Melcher for his disappointment. First, Manson targets Gary Hinman, the man he first asked about marketing his music. With his strong ability to manipulate those around him, Manson orders his follower, Bobby Beausoleil, to kill Hinman on July 1969. On August 8, 1969, Manson's ultimate act of revenge takes place in the home of Hollywood director Roman Polanski and his wife Sharon Tate. Polanski and Tate lived in the same Benedict Canyon home that Terry Melcher used to live. With a vast knowledge of the ins and outs of Melcher's former home, Manson's followers were able to kill the pregnant Tate, Palangi writer Wojciech Frykowski, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, and Steve Parent, a family friend.
Hey, you!
No, my baby! Oh, God.
It took several months for the police to find out who was responsible for the Hollywood murders. Little by little, the followers started bragging about what they had done. On the 15th of January, Charles Manson and all the followers that participated in the killings were found guilty and sentenced to death. Charles was found guilty for conspiracy to commit murders and first-degree murder. Due to the California Supreme Court outlawing the death penalty in 1972, all members of the Manson family were committed to life in prison.
I never broke nobody's will. I never told anybody to do anything other than what they wanted to do.
In all, Manson had no regrets and has no sense of empathy. He's a genius of deflecting the blame and manipulating people.
Wait a minute. I said, you do what's best for you. You do what you feel is right. You do what you think is right. Now, whatever you think is right, it's got to be right. All I'm doing is I'm walking with you. I'm walking in line with you, and I'm holding the line with you. What you do is up to you. It's got nothing to do with me.
The quiet and friendless little boy that grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, will become the man whose name will forever cause pain every time the victims are remembered.
I see blood in here every day. Every day someone's getting shot, someone's getting cut, someone's getting beat. I've lived in that all my life, woman. That don't wrinkle up my forehead. You can pile out 100 dead bodies up in front of my cell, and it don't set me to do nothing.
Thanks for watching Looking into the Eyes of a Serial Killer. The infamous Charles Manson.